Okay, once again we're resuming the live stream while the cloud has apparently moved away a bit, and we are looking simultaneously at two live views of the moon, a low power view on the left and a high power view on the right. In the low power view you can see almost the entire moon, and along the upper edge there is some shadow. And my pointer is pointing at a crater along the edge of the Sea of Fecundity, and you can barely see that crater on the low power view, and on the right I'm showing a high power view. I'll make it a little bit clearer there. Of the same crater, plus a couple of other craters off to the right. This crater in the middle there is Langrenus, and it has a prominent central mountain and a deep floor and a high rim. So it's quite a spectacular crater. And of course, the surface of the moon is pockmarked with craters. You can't always see them clearly unless the direction of the sun picks out the shadows, for example, at the bottom of the crater. Or in this case, you can see the very bright upper rim because it's fully illuminated by the sun. So we're looking simultaneously at a live view of the whole moon on the left and a close-up view of the moon on the right. And I'm going to try and zoom in just a little bit more on that close-up view. At these high magnifications, there's quite a lot of wobble, although actually it's not too bad tonight, and this is due to atmospheric turbulence. Low power view of the moon on the left and a very high power view of the moon on the right. The high power view on the right shows the area marked by the arrow in the left view. So we homed in on a tiny part of the moon that's in deep shadow, picking out the relief of the surface of the moon, including a prominent crater, Langrenus, which is just on the edge of the Sea of Fecundity. And then I can move my arrow down to the Sea of Fecundity, up here to the Sea of Crises, down here to the Sea of Tranquility, where the first lunar landings took place, and over here, the Sea of Serenity. And then down here, the Sea of Rains. But the best part of the moon tonight to look at is right up here, and in particular this crater that's just at the tip of my arrow there. And that's shown in this view on the left, but there's a little bit of drift in the position of the moon, and I'm going to try and correct that. Bring the moon back up here. There we go. The scope is set up to be tracking stars, and the moon moves a little bit differently, so it's not accurately tracking the stars. I can probably try to improve that by switching to lunar tracking there. Okay, see what whether that helps at all. And I see that I need to move the moon a little bit over to the right, if I can, so you get a better view of that lunar crater there. Langrenus. Now, I'll also adjust my pointer so that it's pointing a little bit more accurately at the crater up there, at the tip of my arrow there. Okay. It looks as though there's nobody on the moon at the moment, although I'm not sure we could actually see a spaceman, because this crater, well, I'll look it up and tell you about Langrenus. This is the crater that we're looking at currently. And very shortly we're going to move to a completely different part of the sky. But let me see if I can find out a little bit more information about this crater. It has its own Wikipedia article. So the diameter of this crater that we're looking at there on the left is, and I'll try and recenter it a little bit better here. And I'll try and get it moving down a little bit there. Sorry, I went the wrong way. Okay. This crater is about 130 kilometers in diameter, and the depth is about 3 kilometers. Okay. The interior of the crater appears bright when the sun is overhead. Crater floor is covered by many boulders. The central peaks rise about 1 kilometer above the floor, and a peak on the eastern rim ascends to an altitude of about 3 kilometers. And that's probably that wall that we're seeing bathed in bright sunlight. And that central peak rises about 1 kilometer off the floor. We can see all this in great detail because the angle of the sun is very favourable for picking out the details in this crater. I'm going to adjust the position of my arrow just a tiny bit so that it's pointing to the crater there. And you can see a number of other little craters scattered around. I don't think they have names. And it's called Langrenus because it was first described by the Flemish astronomer Michael Florent van Langren, and he gave it his own name, and the name has stuck. And I might even be able to show you a picture that was taken from the Apollo 8 spacecraft, the first manned mission to the moon. It did not land, of course. It went into orbit around the moon. It was testing out the whole approach. Let me see if I can show you that picture. Take me just one moment here. So I need to do a little bit of trickery here. Go to here. Go to here. Go to here. Switch cast. Okay, that looks good. That should be good there. And now let's go back to here. And have another look here. Okay. For some reason it's not quite showing up. Ready. Okay, let's have a look here. Ah, that's right, of course I'm not on the right Wi-Fi network. I can remedy that. Switch to there. It looks like we've lost, it looks like it's disappeared into thick cloud, okay? And if you'll bear with me for one more moment, I'm going to try and show you the picture of Langrenus that was taken by the Apollo 8 mission as it was in orbit around the moon. There we go. And now let's see whether we can get this operating. Okay, well, click there, click there, click there. There we go. Excellent. Done. And here. And here. And finally, here it is. This is the picture of Langrenus taken by James Lovell during the historic Apollo 8 mission. And you can see the crater Langrenus that we've just been looking at live. It's now covered in cloud, so I'm just showing you an old photograph, but it's a remarkably detailed photograph because the spacecraft was in orbit around the moon, and you can see the central peak and these terraced crater rims, and this is about 100 kilometers across. This central mountain is about 1 kilometer tall. Okay, so now we're going to move to a part of the sky where there's much less cloud, I hope. And we're going to go back to the telescope view, the low power telescope view here, if I can get that running. Make sure I've got that correct here. And now, we're going to go to a star. Let me just get this right here. We're going to go to Albireo in the constellation the Swan. Name stars. And look for Albireo in this list here. Excellent. And now we're sending the telescope, and as the telescope moves to this completely different part of the sky, which is relatively free of clouds, or at least it was 5 minutes ago, we'll hopefully pick up a few of stars whizzing by as the telescope moves. It's getting much closer to Albireo, and we should, with a bit of luck, see it swing into position, but it's not quite there yet. 1933, it's getting very close. Not quite sure why we're not seeing it. That's because I'm not on the right. Solving failure, retry once. Okay, I'm going to have to go outside and have a look, because it may be that the cloud has suddenly moved over that part of the sky. Yes, just 5 or 10 minutes ago it was clear, that area, but now the whole sky is more or less stopped in with clouds, so we'll have